Does humanity and our entire civilization exist inside a highly complex simulated computer program? What if everything you see, feel, and experience is part of this elaborate simulation? It sounds like something out of a science fiction novel or movie like The Matrix, but it has become a topic of serious philosophical and scientific discussion. The simulation hypothesis suggests that our reality might not be as real as it seems, and instead, we could be living inside an incredibly sophisticated computer program. While it sounds far-fetched at first, the evidence that supports the idea that the universe is a simulation is very compelling. And as you hear this evidence, you may be at the very least open to the possibility. The simulation hypothesis was popularized and advanced by philosopher Nick Bostrom in 2003. He proposed that future civilizations would develop the technology to create simulations so detailed that even the simulated beings would be conscious, believing themselves to be real and alive. He argued that if such simulations are possible, then it's highly likely we're already living in one, simply because there could be countless simulated realities, but only one real base reality that exists. Bostrom's argument is based on probability. If the possibility exists for creating billions of simulations, then the odds of us being in the one real universe are staggeringly low. Statistically, we are much more likely to be one of the many simulated ones. Another major factor that works in favor of the simulation theory is the rapid development of technology. Moore's law, which describes the exponential increase in computing power, suggests that within just a few decades, we will have computers capable of running radically complex simulations. Think about how real video games have become, or the incredible potential driven by artificial intelligence. Games like The Sims or Grand Theft Auto create entire digital worlds where characters have a sense of autonomy. Continued rapid advancements in virtual reality and artificial intelligence allows the human race to inch closer in creating immersive environments that are indistinguishable from reality. Imagine what a civilization could achieve that is millions of years ahead of where we are today. They could create simulations so detailed that the simulated beings would have no idea they're living in a virtual world. If it's possible for a highly advanced future civilization to achieve this level of technological sophistication, it would be logical for them to create detailed simulations, where the AI beings become in essence conscious. The temptation to simulate and recreate past civilizations or test new worlds would be too great to resist. One intriguing piece of potential evidence comes from quantum mechanics, the study of the smallest particles in the universe. In the quantum realm, particles behave in ways that defy classical physics. Particles can exist in multiple states simultaneously and only collapse into a single possibility when observed. This behavior is eerily similar to the way computer programs are optimized. A video game only renders the parts of the world that the player is currently looking at. The rest of the world exists as possibilities and only collapse into a single reality as the video game is played. Quantum physics shows that the universe works in the very same way. This is compelling evidence that we live in a programmed universe that only renders reality when it's observed. Millions or billions of possibilities that collapse into one, exactly as a video game does. String theory provides even more evidence to support the idea of the simulation theory, suggesting that the universe is made up of tiny, vibrating strings of energy. Theoretical physicist James Gates discovered that the equations governing string theory contained error-correcting codes, the same kind of codes used in computer software to ensure the integrity of data within the system. Why would the universe have built-in error-correcting codes that work in the same way our computers do if it wasn't a programmed simulation? Another intriguing concept for the simulation theory is the idea that our universe is built with binary code, a universe where everything is reduced to ones and zeros, like a digital system processing information behind the scenes. Just as in The Matrix, where the world is revealed to be a digital illusion, some scientists and philosophers suggest that the fabric of our reality is built using a similar structure. that the universe can be broken down into bits of information. Quantum mechanics reveals that particles behave like binary switches, existing in different states until they are observed, at which point they choose a state, much like a computer bit flipping between 0 and 1. Some theorists argue that the universe operates like an incredibly complex computer program, with the laws of physics functioning as the software's code. This view lends further support to the idea that what we perceive as reality could be a sophisticated simulation using binary code information processing. Another argument that favors the simulation hypothesis is the fine-tuning of the universe. The laws of physics, such as the gravitational constant or the electromagnetic force, are perfectly calibrated that allows for the existence of life. Even the smallest change in these constants would result in a universe where stars, planets, and life as we know it could not exist. The odds of these constants being perfectly balanced seem astronomically low if left to chance. This fine-tuning could be seen as evidence of intelligent design, not by a deity, but by programmers who set the parameters of the simulation to create a livable, functioning universe. If we were living in a simulation, it would make sense that the creators would have fine-tuned the laws of physics to create a stable environment for us to exist. Something else that supports the simulation theory is the Fermi paradox. Why does it feel as though we are alone in such a vast and expansive cosmos? If we are living in a simulated universe, the lack of evidence for extraterrestrial life could be a deliberate choice by the creators. Perhaps they decided to focus the simulation on humanity, or perhaps we haven't unlocked that part of the simulation where alien life is revealed. This controlled environment might be another element that points towards a simulated reality. The simulation hypothesis gains further support when we consider the limits of human perception. Our brains are wired to interpret the world in a specific way based on our sensory input. But we know that there's more to the universe than we can perceive. We cannot see ultraviolet light, but we know it exists. If our perception is already limited, it's possible that there are layers of reality beyond what we can comprehend. A simulated universe could operate within these hidden layers, and we, as the inhabitants, wouldn't have the tools to detect it. The idea of the universe being a simulation is certainly compelling, and is supported by advances in technology, discoveries in physics, and philosophical arguments. Dr. James Gates, a highly regarded theoretical physicist, has become a notable figure regarding the idea that our universe may be a computer simulation. His research and work in string theory and supersymmetry allowed him to identify patterns that suggests a deep mathematical order in the fabric of the universe. One of the most intriguing aspects of his research is the discovery of error-correcting codes, the same kind of codes used in digital systems, raising the possibility that the universe operates under principles similar to those governing computer programs. This discovery has sparked debate in both the scientific community and popular culture about the nature of reality. James Gates's foray into the theory we might live inside a computer simulation began with his work on adinkras, graphical representations used in supersymmetry. Supersymmetry is a theory that attempts to unify the forces of nature by suggesting a symmetry between matter particles called fermions and force-carrying particles called bosons. In his work, Gates found that certain types of adinkras contain structures that resemble error-correcting codes, the same codes used in computer systems to detect and correct errors, ensuring that data is transmitted accurately. This discovery raised the possibility that the fabric of the universe is based on computational principles. Error-correcting codes in physics suggests there is some form of underlying structure that appears to be fixing or correcting information as it travels through the universe. These are the same error-correcting codes that digital computers use to prevent glitches in data transmission. While this doesn't directly prove that we are living in a simulation, it introduces the idea that the universe may behave like a digital computer with built-in systems to manage and preserve the flow of information. This notion supports the idea that the universe could be a simulation designed to function without errors, just as computer programs correct glitches to maintain their intended operation. The idea that our universe is a simulation has been popularized by philosophers such as Nick Bostrom, who posited the simulation argument in 2003. Bostrom suggested that one of the following three possibilities must be true. 1. Civilizations tend to go extinct before reaching a level of technological advancement, where they could run detailed simulations of reality. 2. Advanced civilizations choose not to run detailed simulations of reality. Or 3. We are almost certainly living in a simulation. Gates' discovery of error-correcting codes in the equations of supersymmetry adds a new layer to Bostrom's hypothesis. The codes may be the smoking gun evidence for a reality built on computational principles, according to proponents of the simulation hypothesis. This finding could be interpreted as evidence that our universe is governed by algorithms, much like a computer simulation or program. However, it's important to note that Gates himself has not definitively concluded that we are living in a simulation. Instead, he points out the interesting parallels between digital error correction techniques and the mathematical structures he observed in the physical universe. He remains cautious about drawing hard conclusions, emphasizing that more evidence would be needed to confirm this extraordinary claim. While the discovery of error-correcting codes in the mathematical structures governing the universe is fascinating, it has also been met with skepticism. Many physicists argue that just because the universe appears to operate in ways that resemble computational processes, it does not mean that it is a literal simulation. The universe could simply follow mathematical laws that coincidentally resemble computer algorithms. Another key criticism is that the simulation hypothesis is difficult to test or falsify. The scientific method relies on hypotheses that can be proven or disproven through observation and experimentation. The simulation hypothesis struggles in this regard, even if we find more evidence of computational processes in the universe. It's going to be hard to determine whether these are a natural part of physical reality or the result of a programmed simulation. The idea that our universe is a simulation may reflect a human reliance on technology, digital computing, and the language we use to describe the universe. In essence, it is being shaped by the very tools we invent. In earlier times, people might have compared the universe to a clockwork mechanism or an intricate machine, because those were the dominant technologies of the day. Similarly, today's discussions about the universe being a simulation may reflect our own preoccupation with computers and digital systems. James Gates's work has opened up new areas of inquiry in theoretical physics, particularly in understanding how mathematical structures relate to the physical universe. The continued exploration of supersymmetry, string theory, and other aspects of quantum mechanics may yield more clues about whether the universe operates in a mathematical framework used in computer algorithms. But does reality really exist? Or is it an incredibly advanced hyper-realistic simulation indistinguishable from a real and conscious existence? The idea that reality might be a simulation is one of the most fascinating and provocative concepts of modern philosophy and science. First popularized by philosophers and expanded by technological futurists, the simulation hypothesis proposes that the world we perceive as real might actually be an advanced artificial construct. This idea is born from the incredible advancements in computing power and our growing understanding in the creation of virtual worlds. As technology progresses, the possibility of creating simulated environments indistinguishable from reality becomes increasingly plausible. But while the argument for the feasibility of simulations is compelling, it collides with deeper philosophical questions about consciousness, free will, and the essence of human experience. At the heart of the simulation hypothesis is the idea that any sufficiently advanced civilization could create simulations so detailed that the simulated beings within them would believe their reality was genuine. Think of video games today, which in just a few decades have evolved from pixelated graphics to immersive 3D environments with realistic physics and artificial intelligence. If the trajectory continues, it seems conceivable that a civilization far more advanced than ours could construct entire simulated universes, complete with sentient beings who are unaware of their artificial nature. From this perspective, the probability that we are living in one of these simulations increases dramatically, especially given the vast number of simulated realities such an advanced civilization could create, compared to the single base reality. But this line of reasoning inevitably confronts the nature of consciousness itself. René Descartes famously posited, "I think, therefore I am," suggesting that the very act of questioning one's existence is proof of it. Consciousness, the ability to be self-aware, to think, to feel, and to perceive, remains one of the most profound mysteries of existence. Can something as ineffable and deeply personal as consciousness be reduced to lines of code, algorithms, and data streams? Could a simulated being ever truly grasp its own awareness or experience emotions in the same way that humans do? Proponents of the simulation hypothesis argue that if consciousness arises from the complex interactions of neurons in the brain, it might be possible to replicate those processes within a sufficiently advanced computational system. After all, the brain operates on electrical impulses, much like a computer. If every synapse and neuron could be simulated with perfect fidelity, perhaps consciousness would emerge naturally within a simulated entity. In this view, emotions, desires, and dreams would not contradict the simulation hypothesis, but rather affirm its potential. A simulated being would feel love, fear, or hope as vividly as we do because those emotions would be indistinguishable from those experienced by organic beings. Skeptics, however, often argue that there is something fundamentally irreducible about consciousness, something that cannot be fully explained by physical processes alone. The hard problem of consciousness, as philosopher David Chalmers describes it, centers on why and how subjective experiences feel when we see the color red, for instance, or taste the flavor of chocolate. These arise from physical interactions with the brain. This subjective quality, often referred to as qualia, resists quantification. Even if a simulation could mimic the outward expressions of emotions or behaviors, could it truly replicate the inner first-person experience of those feelings? Would a simulated being truly feel joy, or would it simply be programmed to behave as though it did? Adding to the complexity is the question of free will. If we are in a simulation, are our thoughts, actions, and desires our own, or are they preordained by the programming of the simulation? On one hand, the concept of a simulated reality could imply a deterministic universe where every thought and action is the product of an underlying algorithm. On the other hand, if the simulation is designed to be indistinguishable from reality, it might include the illusion of free will, a convincing layer of complexity designed to enhance the authenticity of the experience. The ability to dream, imagine, and desire is often cited as evidence of humanity's unique position in existence. Dreams, in particular, seem to transcend the boundaries of logic and reason, suggesting a kind of creativity that feels fundamentally human. If we are simulated beings, then the capacity to dream would have to be part of the simulation's design. This raises another question. What purpose would such intricate emotional and mental experiences serve in a simulated reality? Are they accidental byproducts of complex programming, or are they essential to the simulation's goals? If the creators of the simulation intended to observe or study us, emotions and desires might provide crucial insights into behavior, decision-making, and culture. Alternatively, the simulation might exist purely for entertainment or artistic expression, and our rich inner lives could be features designed to enhance its value. The vividness of human emotion also challenges the plausibility of a simulation. The raw intensity of grief, the euphoria of love, and the depth of existential despair seem almost excessive if they are merely programmed responses. Why would a simulated reality need to include such extremes? And yet, if we assume that the simulation is designed to perfectly replicate reality, these emotions might be inevitable. The richness of human experience, with all its contradictions and unpredictability, might be the very essence of what makes a simulated world feel real. While the simulation hypothesis raises profound questions, it also offers an intriguing framework for understanding our place in the universe. If we are living in a simulation, then the boundaries of what we perceive as real may be far more flexible than we currently understand. The laws of physics, for instance, could be akin to the rules of a video game, set by the creators of the simulation, but not necessarily fundamental to existence itself. This could explain some of the unresolved mysteries of the universe, such as the nature of dark matter, quantum entanglement, or the fine-tuning of physical constants. Yet, the very act of questioning the nature of reality might also undermine the simulation hypothesis. If the purpose of the simulation is to create a convincing reality, wouldn't the awareness of being in a simulation compromise its effectiveness? Perhaps our capacity to contemplate such ideas, our ability to dream, imagine, and think beyond the immediate, is evidence of something beyond a simulated existence. Or, conversely, perhaps this capacity is precisely what the creators intended, a built-in feature of a simulation designed to explore the boundaries of consciousness and reality. Ultimately, the simulation hypothesis challenges us to confront the limits of our understanding and to question what it means to be real. Whether or not we are living in a simulation, the act of pondering the question reveals something profound about humanity. I'd like to thank you for exploring the concept of a computer simulation versus a conscious reality, and invite you back for our next episode.